no yo yo wata pevi hagi tabi ihatia ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ha yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha yo hey yo hey yo Perfect Community College, Ugiebino, yo, yo, me too, gashi, dagush, kashka, yogi, piano, yo, yo, wata, pebi, hagik, tabi, ihachi, ya, bino, hey, yo, hey, yo. Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey oh hey oh hey oh Vortex Community College Ungiebino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pebi hagik tabi ihachi ya bino hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey yo hey yo hey yo Vortex Community College Ugiebino yo yo me too gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo wata pebi hagik tabi ihachi ya bino hey yo
Ha matakuyepi. Ke iushke wanchian kampi chante washtea yuhana pe chuzapto.
oh
Washichu chaje Elijah Hopkins makupi. Ke wakchinjo wakpa unspe wankantuya. Dechia dayanya hipito.
oh
Hello, relatives, again, and welcome to the Buffalo Chasers podcast. We are at week number 15, I believe. It is January the 7th of 2021. Again, welcome. And in true Buffalo Chaser fashion, we will begin with a prayer. We're going to be covering some new topics, maybe reviewing some general things that we always do related to mental health and wellness, and asked our relative Nekshi Tommy if he would offer us a prayer and start us off in a good way.
oh wopila toshka how mitaki epidaya ya hipi ambe tukile michante atau aglake na hana pe chuza pelo hohe chaje mitao na wamnishage toba imachiapi ushimalo omakia na hauchekia kiksiapo nitaki epi wanyaza pi na chante yoksiche omani okiawo ushi uchala aha he atukashila na wakantanka Taderi adoba unchi makana makaina. Naku mitaki api wanagi makpea ktayage. Ho choka kta hiopo. Mushia ke mitaki api na wayaka api hechanaha. O wichaki apo ushi wichalapo. Kiksi apo tiwahe tawa na tioshpe tawa. O wichaki apo. Atukashila na wakantanka. Omakia na hawa chekia chante washte ambe tukile. Ikche wichasha mielo. Tukashila na wakantaga oyate oyasi chanku luta aga omani o wichakiapo ushi wichalapo. Kiksiapo mitakia piagichita oyate kizuya ekta na hawichasha bele wia bele chanku washte upi okiawa ushi wichalapo. My grandfathers, as we come to you on this beautiful day that you have gifted us with, my grandmothers ask you in a good way to help us to understand the importance of the respect that our female relatives are due. And as we do these things, we strengthen ourselves to understand the importance of the humbleness that helps us to understand the regard that should be paid to all living things under this Wamakashka attitude, this Changleshka, and that inclusiveness. So we pray and we ask that you continue to help us and guide us to understand the importance of Ikchea, Wichashapi. And that as we continue to walk this red road, we pray that the tracks that we make will be tracks of understanding for all of us. And we take this opportunity to pray for all those that may be sick and ill. We also pray for all of those that are walking around with a very mournful heart as they're missing their loved ones. And today, on this day, we're going to speak in a good way with some respect on how we can contend with these issues as we prepare ourselves to someday soon to go and be with our loved ones on the other side. And so again, we ask you for that strength in our hearts, our minds, our bodies, our spirits to continue to go on in this way. And Mushia ke mitaki pinawana hi okia wo ushu wichalapo. Ho mitaki oasi, mamakashka oasi.
Oh, Pidama Dex, beautiful prayer again. So relatives, so week 15, one of our main things we always try to cover for students and whoever is listening is providing a resource for mental health awareness, and we utilize cultural resources to leverage the strengths of the culture and to provide opportunities for our students to continue to be successful. And I think when we listen to individuals like Dekshi Tommy, it's important that we recognize that we're all a part of, or we're welcome to participate in these things, and it's a way of an inclusion. And in the Buffalo Chaser Society that we're trying to enhance here, we want to make sure that all students and everybody listening, that they're welcome to participate. Weekly, we try to send out a email invite to every employee and every student that's currently enrolled anyway. And so one way to join this discussion directly is via the Zoom invite. Also on Facebook, we try to do a live stream on Facebook, and we do our best to read those comments. And so anybody that's listening and wants to type in something, a question, comment, please feel free to do so. And as time allows, we will try to address those live here on the podcast. And also anybody that wants to participate in the drawing, just give us a like, give us a share. That way you'll be in a weekly drawing. We'll try and announce winners the following week. We have some pretty Cho jackets and some tablets we try to give away. So this is one of the ways that we know that we might be having a little bit of reach, a little bit of impact in the community is through your participation. So again, just give us a share, give us a like. We would appreciate that in a good way. So at week 15, we have general discussion. We've done that a few different times like last week's. So I think that gives us a lot of flexibility to go in a lot of different ways. And if you're a first-time listener and you're listening on the podcast, anytime within these 15 weeks, we've covered a lot of different territory, and in a non-linear fashion, you can insert yourself into listening and participating anywhere in there, and it's all good. We really try to promote that non-linear thinking and utilizing prayer to start us off in a good way. And one of the topics we talked about prior to getting on the call was the topic of death. You know, we all have a a certain time that we're supposed to be on earth, and then we have to make that journey. And so we notice that a lot. It's kind of heavy on our minds if we don't address those things in a good way. We have the virus, the sickness, uh, that's really been affected naturally worldwide, but hits close to home in our communities. And so we want to make sure that we're providing students with a resource. And so I think Tommy does a really a good job of kind of guiding us and making sure that we address those things in a good way. And you can't help but um, insert yourself a little bit to some of these conversations when you flip on the news, when you turn on the TV. And I was driving back from Billings yesterday and took our daughter to a doctor over there, do a little checkup on her, and she's doing great and everything, but I was flipping on the radio, listening to Sirius XM, and here there was, we try not to be political here, but the point is there was a lot of heaviness, and there was some individuals that lost their lives in a tragic accident and some rioting and whatnot from what I was told and from what I was listening to. And it's one of those things where we want to promote mental health and to not have to come to these dark places, but also have an understanding. We want to have an open mind. We want our students and to promote inclusiveness and not us against them mentality. And so, there's a lot of different ways we go with this discussion. I think culturally we have an understanding where there's certain processes, there's ceremonies in place that we can do to address these things for people that and their family members when individuals make their journey. Some really beautiful things that helps with healing and all that good stuff. And so that's why it's good we have my older brother Marty join us on the call. He's a great cultural resource in the community as well, and so I'm sure he has some good insight. But I know that actually Tommy wanted to possibly utilize this time to address that. If you want to share anything to get us started with that topic, Dex, that would be washte no washte do.
No, echetolo daya chanu tushka wupila chicha pelo. Ake na ha mitaki epidaya ya hipi. Ushima lo na ha. Ambe tukilea wowagala ke na ha mat ealo. Ushima no wo chewi chasha mea. My relatives, again, we're going to welcome you all here, and we really want to take this opportunity to kind of convey in a virtual experience to those that may be listening or take interest in these sorts of things. We covered a lot of different areas as we've been coming to this point, and that sometime ultimately we're going to come to some sense of finality as it relates to our involvement in this virtual concept that we're choosing to take on for the sake of our mental health. One of the things I talked with my nephew about earlier is this mystery we refer to as death. I think it's really important for us to help ourselves understand in that preparation of this mystery that we're comfortable with that. We can deal with that. There's so much of it going around, and again, it's such a mournful thing. Our heart, pieces of our heart have actually been ripped out of our bodies, and we just feel that loss and what can fill that void, and all of these things, all these questions that we have as human beings in respects to how we contend with this mystery of death. Well, in our culture, it was shared with me by people that are older than myself that there's a term that we utilize in that preparation. It's called nak'e nula wa'un. And that translates into something like you're prepared for anything. In a spiritual way, when the elders, the old people, refer that to that statement, that their meaning, prepare yourself for this mystery of death. And how you prepare yourself is you be good to everything and everybody as well as you can. Not as well as somebody told you need to, but as well as you can. And again, we're good to all these things as well as we know how, and by being good to them, I'm actually saying showing them some respect. And that involves that inclusivity that we talk about so that we can maintain a sense of consistency as it relates to this philosophical approach to how we choose to make good tracks on that red road that we often speak of that represent that spiritual way of living. One of the reasons, like, it's kind of good for me today to talk about that because one of my younger brothers up in Canada is really having a sense of mournfulness, but it has to do with one of our boys. Um, and when I say boys, I'm saying in a Indian way, we take on our animals as family, and he's going to lose his dog as a result of an illness. And he called me this morning, and he was kind of really and had a real sad heart, and he was crying, and again, I shared some tears with him as well, because the boy I'm talking about is a pit bull, and he was a very, very, although they're looked at like they're mean and angry, and they're not Chase. That's the animal I'm talking about. He got um, liver cancer, some liver problems, and so they're going to put him down on the weekend. And my little brother is trying to take him around and be close to him. But that really helps us to understand, even in that respect, how not that we would feel less emotion for a dog as opposed to a family member, because we look at it as the same. Because again, under that auspice of exchea vichasha, which means common people, is the way I interpret it. You could say exchea oyateki as well. But when I say exchea vichasha, that means Indian people or just common people. But it, we look at things like we're all the same. We don't believe that we have dominion over anything. Make sense? We don't have dominion over animals. We don't have dominion over the plants. We don't have dominion over the insects. Nothing like that. We believe under that auspice of Wamakashka, all this creation, that we're all the same. And so in that respect, I had a very, very serious discussion with my little brother this morning as it relates to preparing himself um, for this sense of loss that he's going to realize on the weekend when they have to put our boy down there. And oh man, he brought me such joy, and I talked about it, and I shared that with him. I said every time I went there, he was just like a pup when I come around. Oh, he was just so happy. I gave him a blanket. Kyle, you don't give dogs blankets. Well, I did because he loved it so much. I think he liked the scent, because he was we were so close. I mean that pup. And anyway, my little brother was feeling really sad, and kind of encouraged him a little bit to prepare himself. And he said he would, and he's going to take his little boy around into places they went where he would let him run out there and in the fields and whatnot. But when you think about that, what he's really doing is preparing his memory for good memories in the future. So when we lose a member of our family, we prepare like that. The good thoughts, the good memories, the good times, the laughable times. We don't sit and dwell on the negativity. Oh, that bugger owed me $20. Although that's what everybody probably say about me when I go there, how much I owed them. No, they won't. Me and Marty, the only two that we owe money to when we leave. But we're just running on that spirit road, trying to get away from those ones that we owed. Right, Chakta? Oh, that's it too. But in that process, there's a silver lining in everything that happens. And when we experience that death on such a personal level, we understand the importance of that character development. Exercising our virtues every day helps us to deal with and continue to walk this red road and make good tracks on it in spite of some of the negativity. And I know that it's important for us to deal with that because we always believe, we're going to see you again, my relatives. That's the way we believe. That's our diversity that exists in this spiritual aspect of our thought process based on our philosophy. And in that, we always try to have this sense of the importance of being apolitical. That's key, because to be political is a very human, instinctive thing. We want to belong to something, but at the same time, my nephew here, Elijah, just mentioned about what had happened. And that also helped me to understand the importance of, again, this diversity, but at the same time, understanding some of the human qualities or characteristics of being human we could take it and get out of balance in respects to that. And we need to try to achieve the sense of balance by keep it in perspective, is what they would say. Yesterday was an extreme from a political agenda that created the loss of life. What about that person's relations? What about the ones that are going to be mourning her death and her loss? We need to think about them like that. And so it helps you to understand that, you know, are we being apathetic? Are we being numbed by, or just kind of insensitive to that death? No, we're not. What we do is we understand the importance of going beyond that fear of death and preparing ourselves for it. So when they do take us, we'll be ready for it. Because fear is one of the biggest factors that we have to contend with. And a lot of times, people have tried to or attempted to, based on a personal agenda or a political agenda, to control other people. But if we have this sense of freedom of spirit, then if this higher power or the spiritual energy is on my side, who can be against me? And that's not arrogance, that's just understanding. And if we take that attitude and we make good tracks like that, oh man, that's the beauty of what I'm talking about in this more natural based process of our philosophy, and depending on that character development, exercising these virtues to help us deal with not only a death, but also a sickness. A sickness can affect us in the same way. You know, the sadness of somebody else can affect us the same way. We kind of take on some of that transference of that emotion ourselves, and yet they depend on us to encourage them. So in that dependency of our other people that are suffering, they always share with us, "Mitakuyepi prehichiapo, nitakuyepi wachi niapelo." My relatives, make yourself strong. Your relatives are depending on you. And when they say that, they don't mean to go and defend their purpose in a political or a personal agenda, but just to encourage them, to help them understand tomorrow is going to come for you, be it whatever. But we're going to get through this. We're going to strengthen ourselves. And like I was sharing with my little brother this morning, we need to be thankful for Chase. That's our boy. That's that little pit bull that took care of us, and said he's making us stronger. Even in his, we're letting him go to this next place. Even in that, he's making us stronger as we prepare ourselves to understand our purpose and dedication in life, as was intended by this higher power or this spiritual energy that people refer to as heaven, that we prepare ourselves to go and be amongst in the next life, in the next dimension, in this transition of this opportunity to continue to go on and be helpful to this, all of this creation that is here. We become a part of that. So, you know, I just felt that it's important that we can do these things, but on a personal basis. Your relationship with this spiritual energy is personal. That's between you and the spiritual energy. A lot of people, they go to church, they talk to God. When we as Indigenous people go to ceremony and follow the protocol, we talk with God, so to speak, eh? Does that make sense? And you see how that all works. It's an attitude of one that not really accumulating too much, but always having just enough to get by, but yet not being afraid to share what we have. Words, be it in materialistic things, be it in a ride here and there, be it in some food that little sustenance that we can share with other people without starving ourselves. That's what I mean by keeping it in perspective, keeping it in balance, helping us understand that in spite of the loss of our loved ones, in spite of how we're feeling at that time, we got to turn that around and make it look and let it look like it's supposed to be a strengthening tool from the inside out, from our heart to the outside. Think about that. That's something that I wanted to provide you with, because there's so much death. Every time you turn around, you hear about this one going, that one going, that one going. What can we do? What do I need to do? And oh man, it can just really drag you down in a very deep depression if you're not careful. If you take it upon yourself to go with what the old people have shared with us. And we know Chalapi, we talk Chalapi, won't speak ya hemita. They shared this with me, and they said, a lot of times there's nothing you can do but, wochekia. Wochekia doesn't necessarily mean prayer. It means a heartfelt cry. Okay? You cry represents the humbleness. Okay? It's a heartfelt cry. Wochekia. And when you literally translate that, that's what I would translate that as, because it's not prayer, but it's coming from a personal place within your own heart, letting you know you're human, you feel these things, but you're not apathetic, you're not desensitized, you're not numb to these things, but personally you address them differently. And that diversity and that uniqueness as the representative of our natural law, it should be an enhancement and an enrichment for the sake of the growth of our children. And you'll hear me share that time and time again, because that's the way it was shared with me, with such graciousness, because of the old folks that were my teachers, the old ladies and the old men that I hold dear to my heart, that I had a lot of trust and belief in, that they shared these sorts of things with me. But, I just wanted to throw that out there. And again, I welcome the visitors here, Tushka, Chakta, Suzanne, and Lynette. I want to ask you to kind of have some input. Of course, me and Elijah, we're old hands at this, but again, don't hurry, don't rush, take your time. We're dealing with mental health, and we want other people to see there's an avenue in which we can address these issues that affect us personally without putting all our stuff out in the street. But at the same time, like my little brother, I love him very much. And of course, our boy, I love him very much. And it affected me, but I can share it openly in a good way. So with that, Chakta, Mumakia.
I don't know what you said, but no, I'm teasing. So that once again, right there, when we talk about death, I think that's one of the things that comes out with me and always has my whole life is laughter, and trying to bring people to a sense of not thinking about that for a minute. And I know it's temporary, but when my brother died, that night we were teasing. That night we were in the chapel, viewing his body, and we were laughing. We were joking around about, well, this guy finally went, Dukes of Hazzard, because he flew about 270 feet in the air in his car. And so me and Jim were asking each other, do you think he said yeehaw when he was in the air? So yeah. I think the one good thing about being Indian, living around Indians, being on the reservation is that humor. Yeah. And I think that gets our people through. We all know about death. When we sing these songs at the graveside, we chute o techigano. They talk about this death is difficult, but then that other thing they talk about when you talk about preparing, they talk about the only thing that lives forever is Mother Earth. Yeah. And so when we know those things, then we have a better outlook as to what we're facing in this future. These things we try to stay away from, we try to stay in the present, but we know that we're not going to be here forever, and with talking about death, my heart goes out to the Blunt family. Eventual. It's going to happen. We're all going to go. We're all going to be on that other side. But, geez, some of those deaths affect differently. And I do know that Grandpa Dean passing away. I got the honor of having some amazing conversations with that man over the last couple of years. But really, since I took over as the Chante director, I'm going out to Fraser and being able to visit with him and just his outlook on life. If people never got to visit that man, they missed out, because boy, he was just a positive person all the time, even in the face of, guaranteed, if I would have went and talked to him today with that stuff that happened yesterday, there would have been positivity and there'd have been talk about basketball. It took me down the hallway again and showed me his senior picture and told me about how all that transpired. And so I think that brings to point two, what you talked about is those good memories. Mm-hmm. And I think, that's what we do. We're going to drive towards those good memories, those things that, because I think that helps keep us here with them. or them here with us, I should say.
Yeah, yeah.
I think something that we don't do enough. I think we get in too big of a hurry when death happens. And I did it. My brother died in June, and I tried to come out of mourning in September so I could be there, help my brother, help the lodge people, and do those things for the lodge singing. Hadn't processed any of it yet. And I just broke down and cried and had a tough 3 months after that first lodge singing. And so my advice to people is take your time, feel it. Chase passing away to your younger brother up there, to feel that it's okay, and cry and yell and scream at God and do those things that we do. Our men, when we go to that hill, we know that we experience every emotion that we have in our bodies when we fast. Yeah. And so the same concept it comes true with death, because that's what we're going to do anyways. When we go to fast, that's what we're doing. We're preparing for this thing that you're talking about next year. So I think that, having that mindset of, I don't want to die tomorrow, but that I'm ready when that time comes. I'm good with whatever happens. I've lived a good life here. I've tried my hardest to be good to people. It doesn't always work out. I'm human. I've said things to people and done things that I shouldn't have done. And I'm super sorry for them. And when I'm afforded the luxury, I've apologized, but we're human. Yeah. And we make those mistakes. But I think overall, what Nekshi is getting at is to live a good life and try to live humble. When you do things, don't blast it on Facebook and don't put it all over the place. Do those things because that's why we do those things. Because how I was raised, my father raised me in the belief, and I talk all the time about the trauma that was in our home. I talk about my father's struggles with addiction from boarding school and from no parents and all that stuff. But I also talk about this kind side of my father that a lot of people never got to see because my father was super guarded. But my father would take me every weekend and we would travel this reservation. We would travel all the way over here. We'd travel all the way out to Fraser. And in those visits, I saw what he means by being good to people. My dad would take food to our elders. My dad would go pick our elders up and he would take them. Wilma Williamson, I could just go. Thelma Rounds, I could go on and on and on. Tolly McClammy, Billy's dad. We spent a lot of time at that house because Tolly had taken my dad in as a son. And so all these things had happened. But in all of those journeys, I saw this, how to be good to people, a good relative. And that was to do those simple things, to take my grandpa up to get pork and beans and hot dogs, and then go in and start his stove for him, get his pork and beans, put them on the stove, just in the can. You didn't take them out of the can. You had to leave them in a canner, they were ruined, and heat them up on the stove. And then he would cut his hot dogs up, put his hot dogs in those pork and beans. And that was a delicacy to him. But my point being is that was my first understanding as to how to be good to people. So when we do these things, when I see Barbara Birdsville, or when I see our elders around, I buy their dinner for them. And I have kind words for them, because I think that when we leave this earth, I want to leave prepared, like Nekshi said. And like I said, we don't always do that. And there's people out there that don't like me, and there's things I've said to people that I wish I could take back, but we can't. But for the most part, I feel like I live okay, and I try to be good to people every day. I didn't want to, but I had to give our Uncle Tommy a ride a couple days because his car was broke down. So I go back to what my dad said, I didn't want to. I wanted him to walk, but teasing. But I think when we talk about death, though, it hits everybody differently. And the one thing I take away from death and helped me get through the loss of my brother, which was my best friend, my very best friend in the whole world. The thing I take away is that when we can put that in perspective of what other people are feeling, I know it hurts, but there's always somebody who has it worse than us. There's always somebody that's struggling worse than us, that's lost more family than us, that's experienced more death than us, that has more trauma than us. And so when we look at it like that, and we can take that, we can put it into perspective, and we can say, yeah, this hurts, but I still got to be available. I still have to be there. We still have to continue to help our people. And that's what really helped me get through that grieving process of my brother, was that I could still help and I could still provide for that.
Be
And I
strong.
think my last thought with death is that I don't know because I didn't live there, but my understanding from listening to Tommy and listening to Bob when he was here and Peter and our elders, they always talked about that when somebody would die, that the lodge would take care of them. The lodge would take care of their lodge, their children, and they would make sure that they were good while they went and mourned. And so I feel like we don't do a good enough job, all of us, myself included. When our people lose loved ones, we should step up. And so I do say that when we have ceremony, that if you're able to, don't ask them, go take them food. Knock on their door and drop them off some food, drop them off some water. Make sure if they're kids, just go get them, take their kids to school. Do those things for them when they're mourning so that it helps them to be able to process this experience that they're in. And I'm still not real good at that. I still struggle with that. But yeah, definitely, I think, laughter, visiting, preparing yourself, but taking care of our relatives too. Those are kind of my 4 points, I think, that kind of helped me, from my perspective, get through the loss of my best friend. So
Oh,
Oh,
one of the things, Marty, I was listening to him talk was I remember visiting him a while back, him and his dad. He told me they would go to the old folks home and get their guitar,
Yeah.
would jam out. They would sing what that one song is, Hakuna Matata.
yeah,
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 really bring joy to the old people because
yeah. They
old
for
people,
some reason they really liked that song. We'd sing all kinds of stuff, but we'd sing old songs too. We go back. That's where I grew up learning to play like Chet Atkins and Hank Williams and all that old country. And those man, I tell you, just those small things, those small the moments of time that you take out of your busy schedule to go, man, I'm telling you, you don't know what it does for your Chande, for your soul. It's good that way, but it's also good internally too, what it brings back to you. That concept, if you put good out there, good has to come back. They talk about that all the time. If you put good out there, you're out of balance. And so the only way to get back into balance is the creator is going to bring you good, to bring that back into balance. Now, same concept can be said when our people are out there, and myself included, been there. Everybody knows, recovered meth addict, struggled for a lot of my life. I was putting a lot of bad out there. So when I was putting that bad out there, the only way to bring my spirit back to center was to put that bad back in. So that concept, is also fundamental when we're talking about preparing yourself. When you put that good out there, them good things are going to come. And even in death, lost my brother, but good things came from that. New relationships. The other thing, broken relationships were healed because of my brother crossing over. So good things come from, there's good things do come from death. There are.
silver lining.
Yeah.
one of the I was listening to Next Talk earlier. Another I guess translation that I heard from another speaker, a Assiniboine speaker, Nake Nuna, was means I'm temporary. I'm temporary. I heard a speaker say that one time. And so that makes me think, if that type of thought, we would be more grateful for the time that we have here and grateful for the time that our elders have, because they're the ones that are closer. And so I've always thought of that, kind of made me think, but it also means to always be ready for anything. And so it helps me with a good perspective to enjoy those things, utilize the humor that you're talking about. It's all about healing and helping us to have a good, healthy lifestyle. So one of the main things of our discussions here through this format. So thank you for sharing that, Marty.
Then, Suzanne, how are your feelings from a female perspective on dealing with this very highly emotional concept and how we look at death? How do you feel about that, Suzanne?
Hi, Tommy.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
We can now, yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure if I'm speaking into my phone or if anyways, I had to dial in on audio.
Well, we can hear you well, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. It was going through my mind when I was thinking about when death happens. And I got to thinking about a comment my daughter made when they were probably still in school. and we had a relative pass, and we were all at the hospital, and they were all little teenagers, the little nieces, my daughter, and all of them, and the instructions were, I said, we said, you need to go to the house, to my aunt's house, and you need to get things ready. And later on, we talked about what that meant. And she said, Mom, I knew what we needed to do, having seen this before. And we knew we had to go home and get the house straightened up, get coffee made, and get ready to receive company. And to receive food and those sorts of gifts that are being brought over. And I think about that as the role of a mother, her children, and something you've learned from your grandmothers and your aunties.
Yeah.
Is that you get your home ready, and you start preparing ceremony foods, as I've learned in my lifetime here. And we even get ready to bring them home, to bring them into the house, as I saw my mother brought home to my grandmother's house. And it goes back to welcoming people into your home, because they're there to honor your loved one. And sometimes they don't say a whole lot, but they know, by their presence of being there, they're supporting you in this very difficult grieving time and mourning time. They'll bring food, they'll stay a little bit. And it's really interesting, the things that I've seen brought to homes, because they have been through that. I've seen mothers will bring like toilet paper, because they remember when they lost their daughter, the folks that came to their home, that they needed these essential items, for company.
Yeah.
And that the younger relatives, my daughter and all them, they knew they were expected to get up and serve and take coffee and offer people plates and clean up. So they were busy. And later on, she said, I know now what to do. And it's important to know sort of those things, because I remember when I was younger and I was raised with, off the reservation with my mom and dad. And I remember we had a neighbor pass, somebody passed. And I remember my mom saying, oh, I have to make something, cook something and take it over there. And I could not, and I was really young, I could not put the two together. I thought, why do you have to take somebody's food,
Yeah.
But that's part of that grief work and that grief journey that we don't, we're so blessed in our culture not to have to do it alone.
Mm.
And my aunties said, and I know this, and my daughters know this, and we want to pass this on, is sometimes there are no words, but a handshake,
Yeah.
they know.
One of the
And they
things,
say
Suzanne,
thank you.
yeah, one of the things, Suzanne, that's where the ladies, the females, understand the importance of that difference that exists and the strength that they have. And if you ever notice, although we refer to the people that are mourning as wankan, because they're not in their right mind, they can't think, they're not normal, they're wankan. We refer to them as that because they're not thinking in their right mind because of this mourning. But the ladies have the strength, the females have the strength based on their teachings, or even if they're not taught, they have the strength to overcome some of that personal fighting within yourself, to overcome that and be helpful in that way, like what you were saying, making the food, cleaning the house, taking care of some of these basic needs. The women really have that, and we depend on them. So when they say brehitia, that's what they're referring to. And our ladies are such a catalyst or a focal point to that whole process, continuing to go on with that encouragement, not even words, just acts like that, sweeping the floor, doing the dishes, making a pot of soup, making coffee, like you stated earlier. That's the thing, that the beauty of our culture as it relates to those that are pitiful, that are in that mournful state. Chante yoksicha omani, they're walking around like that, and we refer to them as wakan because they're not in their right mind. Yes, that's absolutely right.
I appreciate you letting me share that. It just,
Sure.
it's comforting, and those that don't know, maybe weren't shown. It's just it's those small acts to show your love, your care, and your concern. And you said it's as simple as sweeping. It's just picking up. It's offering to sit. And many times people will come and sit with you, and nothing has to be spoken. It's just knowing. It's just there's just that knowingness, that they're there with you and to support you. So that's what I was thinking about. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much for that input, Suzanne. Lynette, I know you're out there. You're hiding behind something or other, but I can see you. I'm using my X-ray vision.
Oh.
She took off.
Okie da.
Toki na. Lynette. She squealed out. But, in that whole process, again, there's some really good points that are brought up, like my nephew. Are you still there, my girl? Don't be running off. We wanted to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm driving, so I was gonna unmute you, and I ended the call, and I'm sorry. I was trying to do two things at one time. I guess I can't multitask after all.
Okay, Karen. Lynette.
Yeah.
We hear these things and we understand the importance of holding in high regard and in reverence, actually, our women. And Suzanne spoke a little bit about it as it relates to some of those responsibilities. How do you feel about that preparation, what Marty talked about as he prepared himself and what we've been discussing, to that mystery of death? How do you feel? What is your thoughts on that? Just wanted to ask you to share with us, if you would, please.
Thank you. From growing up with my grandmother, I was a grandma's girl, and she always instilled with me, I guess, growing up with the older people, I seen death a lot, because as they were growing older, a lot of their people, or the people that they knew, was passing away, and so she always emphasized that with life comes death. And it's a beautiful place, and don't be afraid of it. And so I seen a lot of death growing up with them, a lot of their relatives and whatnot. And so not really understanding, just kind of knowing what my grandmother said, until I got older, and I lost one of the closest people that I was connected to was my grandfather. And that's kind of when it really hit me, is that, he is gone, and not knowing what to do. Like, what are me and my grandma going to do now? And I attended the first 4-day feast that probably really meant something to me. We went in there thinking that our world was ending, and what are we going to do? And where do we go from here? And coming out feeling blessed that we got to know my grandfather, and that he was a part of our life, and that we can go on, and he's in a better place than we are. And so as I really respected that way of life, and then finding the lodge and becoming part of the lodge family, nowadays is, like Suzanne said, it's preparing, and it's us women that do that. We prepare the food, we get the cloth ready, we get making sure we have tobacco, making sure everything is set up the way it's supposed to, because we realize the men are out there doing their part too. And so it's a joint effort with everybody coming together and doing what they need to do. We all know our roles, and we just kind of do it. And so you go in there with a heavy heart, and you're preparing within these 4 days, and you have your ceremony. To me, and then as you're sitting there and you're visiting, because what carries us through? Laughter. So what do we do as we're sitting around visiting is, we're visiting and we're telling about the crazy stories that we had with this loved one that's passed on. And that's how we remember them, and we laugh, and that's what gets us through the next 4 days. And we know that their spirit is traveling and coming to visit each one of us. And we might share that. You know, we might
Oh.
say, hey, you know, they came and visited me last night. This is what happened or whatever. And we share those moments with each other. And when the 4 days is up, I know that they've went to a better place than I'm at right now. And so that gives me comfort
Oh.
and comfort knowing that we get to talk to them in another year. We get to mourn them for a year and we're going to call them back and we're going to get to visit them one more time before they actually go. So that's my view on it. And thank you for asking.
Wopila Tojan, Hechetuelo, Yawashtelo. Again, you know, as we do these things in closing, you know, this is to some it's a very serious issue, but to us it's a beauty of accepting this sense of balance. Is we're born to at some point go to this next dimension, but I don't want to raise you up and then drop you on your head. So in coming down, we need to understand the importance of that, strengthening ourselves for whatever reason. We're not here to judge or criticize that you drink or you do drugs or this, that, or the other. You're Indian, you're white, you're Chinese, you're black. We're not here to do that. We're here to include you by whatever means and to share with you the beauty as you hear these stories, as we make references to that preparation, that even as it affects us personally. Oh man, that's the worst thing that could ever happen, man. And you know, how am I going to get over this? And then you look outwardly and you see all of these individuals supporting you, encouraging you, wishing good thoughts for you. And that's actually what a Wochekia is, eh? That's a heartfelt wish that you have. It's a cry from your heart that for good things to happen for our people, and as we prepare ourselves. So let's think about stuff like that as it relates to, like, again, remember my younger brother Waylon up there in Saskatoon, preparing himself and trying to be strong, not being strong, trying to be strong. Who knows how we're going to feel about that. I can't interpret the love he had for our boy, and I can't interpret how he feels about that in their relationship. My boy Chase, and how he made me feel and how he strengthened me, how he helped make my day better as it relates to stress and all that good stuff. But it's kind of like that. So there's an option, there's a way to deal with political personal agendas. We don't just cast them out, we don't deny them, we deal with them, but maybe in a good way, in a positive way. And what those people did, Henielo, that's them. But to us, we don't make other people's problems our problems, and then they call us stoic because we have no fear, and they think we're apathy. It's not. But that's what we're trying to convey, is that clarification of who we are as a people. We're sitting there, and if we're quiet and we have this stoic look, you know what? I bet you 99.9% of the time we're Chekia, eh? But they don't see it like that. But again, okay, but I just wanted to share that just so we didn't drop anybody on their heads as it relates to those that might be listening out there in YouTube land or wherever, and Facebook land. But just to understand that we're doing this in a good way. We're sharing these things with some different people that are involved here. We're not trying to convince you, but we wish to share with you there's options out there to deal with things. And this spiritual energy has a way of helping us realize our purpose and our dedication directly as well as indirectly, as you can see with Chakta, Toshka Chakta. That's indirect as I've ever seen indirect. But anyway, that's all I had to say about that, Toshka, Elijah. How come they're calling you Gabe? Is that your name, Gabe? Shit, I thought it was Elijah.
My son, Gabe. We has an online class. We got him in some virtual classes.
Oh, okay.
2 years old now, so we hooked him up. So his screen name, I forgot to change it. My bad. Daya wachihadakapi midakipi. Good visit, good talk. I think we're at the top of the hour here. So unless anybody has any other comments, I think we'll wrap it up. I have a few announcements to make related to our registration. Always got to plug that. So unless there's any other comments, okay, watch that.
Just a reminder on that, that talking circle won't be until the 19th, or 20th, I believe.
Oh yeah, so the virtual talking circle that will begin again on the classes start the 19th of January, that next Friday. So the 22nd of January will be the first time we have the virtual talking circle. That is scheduled for, I believe, at 11 o'clock for an hour.
Yeah.
And so that's just another resource, another tool in the bag for students to participate in a healthy.
It doesn't go Facebook Live. It's more private.
Yeah. We still utilize Zoom, so that way wherever you're at your home, you're at school, wherever, you can still join the discussion. But there will be moderators like myself or next to Tommy here, another student services staff member will join the call. You can talk symbolically. You can pass that virtual feather around, and when it's your turn to talk about whatever you want. If whatever, as long as we're respectful. Ohoda, that's one thing. We always want to have that respect for one another and the way we communicate with each other. So as long as we do that, anything's fair game. But just be on the lookout for the flyer, the invite through your student email. So again, January 22nd, every Friday for that semester.
Ohie. Was you going to announce that? Ohie.
Oh, the winner, yeah. Right, we didn't do the drawing yet. So what I'll do is I'll post the winners in the Facebook feed. When we wrap up here, we'll do that drawing. I'll put your name in there, and then we'll have a jacket, a Cho jacket, and then one of those Kindle Fires over there. So be on the lookout for that. So, but again, registration for spring semester is open. Again, free tuition and fees. If you're 6 credits or more in degree seeking, you're eligible for a laptop, free laptop, and free internet installation. And then back to the free tuition fees. That includes books. So that's usually a big expense, right? So Mazaska Ota, you hapikte. Have just much money. You're gonna have a lot, man, because normally all those scholarships, the Pell Grant, the American Indian College Fund scholarships, the COBEL, the higher ed, man, all that stuff. A lot of times it'll go to your bill, and then you kind of get whatever's left over. Feeling kind of oosh, man. You're kind of, but now, man, it's gonna go directly to you. Be like this. Have all kinds of money. So that's a big incentive, man. I can't say that enough. And I don't know of hardly any institutions that are doing this. So it's really take advantage of this. It'll change your life. So a free meal plan as well. So, you can't beat that. So, that's really an offer that you just can't refuse, as they say. So we're feeding you free tuition, free books. Campus is providing a safe learning environment with safety measures in place related to social distancing and masks. So there might be some classes that are face-to-face, kind of a hybrid format. With these laptops and the internet, that's all the resources you need to access your courses at home or wherever you have internet. Okay, you can go for a vacation, go over and do whatever, but as long as you have that internet connection, the laptop, and most of our classes, they're hybrid or they're completely online. So definitely take advantage of that. And you can go to fpcc.edu, and that's where you apply. That's for all the other information related to the registration process. On January 13th, we're having a virtual student orientation. So definitely check that out. All the students that are already registered, check your student email. That's how you get the student, the invite to Zoom. We're going to do that virtually. It'll be pretty short. It's not going to be an all-day thing for a couple hours. We'll have some drawings. We'll have some, I believe we have some more jackets, and we have a Kindle Fires and some other drawing items anyway. So we'll have a couple of those, lots of things to give away. So if you can't make the Zoom meeting, check us out on Facebook. We'll live stream it there, and then it's archived. So later on you can go back and there's an extra resource for you. So with that, that's pretty much all the announcements I got. Unless anybody else has anything, I think we'll wrap it up here. Kanushta. Oh. Doksta ake wachia kapikta.
Fort Beck Community College, me too, gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo wata pebi hagi ktabi ichachia ya bino hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ha yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey Fort Beck Community College, me too, gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo wata pebi hagi ktabi ichachia ya bino hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha hey yo Fort Beck Community College, me too, gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo wata pebi hagi ktabi ichachia ya bino hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ya yo hey ya yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ha ya hey Fort Beck Community College, me too, gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo wata pebi hagi ktabi ichachia ya bino
Man, that guy, Hunga, could really jam.
I could just bust him in the face.
Ah.
Oh, that's it. Dokta.
Dokta.